I pushed a stack of bank statements across Grandma's kitchen table. The pages slightly curled from how many times I'd checked the dates. The fridge hummed behind me, steady and loud in the quiet room. I kept one finger on the top sheet so it wouldn't slide. The red circles around the withdrawals looked even sharper under the overhead light, like they were waiting for someone to admit something. Lana walked in mid-sentence, talking to someone on her phone, then stopped when she saw the papers. Her steps slowed. She lowered the phone without looking away from the numbers. My back felt warm from stress, and my jaw stayed tight because I didn't trust my voice yet. Every withdrawal carried her name, and she still said she had nothing to explain. Have you ever found something in your own family that made you stop for a moment and think, who else knows about this? If stories like this keep you watching, please like the video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. And just so you know, this wasn't the only document I found. I'm Maya Carter. I'm 38, and I work from home as a freelance paralegal. Most days you'll find me sitting at my little kitchen table with my laptop open, a pile of scanned documents beside me, and a cup of reheated coffee I keep forgetting to finish. I rent a small townhouse about 10 minutes from Grandma's place, close enough to stop by whenever she needs help. I usually bring my work with me, so I can sit on her couch and answer emails while she watches her crime shows. Every week, I sort her mail the same way. Bills on the left, personal letters in the middle, anything suspicious on the right. I highlight due dates, straighten envelopes, and tuck things into her old leather folder. I also keep a simple ledger for her. It's just a notebook with lined pages, but she trusts it more than online banking. I write the date, the amount, and what the payment was for. It's not fancy, but it keeps everything clear. I've always been the one who handles the boring tasks. It's not because I'm better at it. It's just who I became over time. I'm also the kind of person who avoids arguments. When I see my phone light up with a call that feels heavy, I let it ring. I tell myself I'll call back later, but I rarely do. I don't like shouting. I don't like tension. I just want things to run smooth. And more than anything, I want Grandma to feel steady and safe. She's 87. Her legs aren't what they used to be, but her mind is sharp. She remembers dates better than I do. She remembers stories from her childhood like they happened last month. She likes things done on time. She likes order. So I try to keep her world calm. My sister, Lana, is 35. People love her the first time they meet her. She has that easy smile and soft voice that makes her sound helpful, even when she hasn't done anything yet. She tells everyone she helps out with Grandma, but most of the time it means taking selfies next to Grandma's plants or running one errand and talking about it for a week. She likes looking dependable more than actually being dependable. Then there's Aunt Rachel, Grandma's sister's daughter. She's 60, kind, and always trying to keep the peace. She hates family tension. If you tell her someone hurt your feelings, she will nod slowly and say, "Just let it go. It's not worth a big fight." I used to agree with her. I'm not so sure anymore. Growing up, I was the one who handled practical things. I paid the bills when Grandma raised us after Mom died. I wrote checks for school fees. I kept track of due dates. Lana handled emotion, which for her meant giving hugs, cracking jokes, and leaving me with the real responsibility. It stayed that way into adulthood. Before everything went wrong, life with Grandma followed a simple pattern. Her hallway always smelled like cedar polish because she used the same cleaning spray for 20 years. The wall clock in her living room made a soft ticking sound you barely noticed until the house got quiet. Her old TV played reruns at a low volume. Everything in the house felt slow and steady, predictable. Lana and I weren't close, but we didn't fight either. She rolled her eyes when I double-checked things. She called me too careful. I ignored her comments because I didn't want to start a problem. The first real sign that something was wrong came on a Wednesday morning. Grandma handed me a utility bill with a bright red, final notice stamp on the front. She looked confused and said, "I paid that last week." Lana helped me. The moment she said that, something tightened in my chest, but I kept my face straight. I didn't want to scare her. I checked her ledger, and the payment wasn't there. The handwriting beside the line looked messy, not like Grandma's usual neat loops. I didn't jump to conclusions. I just asked her where the receipt was. She shrugged and said Lana took care of it. Later that afternoon, Lana walked in carrying 2 shopping bags. When she placed them on the table, a receipt slipped out. Grandma's name was printed at the top, but the signature at the bottom didn't match hers. It wasn't even close. Still, I said nothing. I let Lana grab Grandma's mail by accident again. I looked away when she suddenly took interest in Grandma's debit card. And when Grandma repeated, "Lana said she'd help with that," I swallowed my questions. I felt uneasy, but not ready to accuse anyone. Not yet. After seeing that strange receipt with Grandma's name and the wrong signature, I knew I needed to check more than just her ledger. The next morning, I logged into her online banking from my laptop while she watched TV in the other room. The screen loaded slowly, but once it opened, the numbers didn't make sense. There were several ATM withdrawals in the exact same amount, spaced only a few days apart. Grandma never used ATMs. She didn't even know her PIN without asking me to write it down each time. I scrolled further and froze when I saw something else. A new line of credit had been opened under her name. I clicked the details. It showed a balance, a large one. Grandma had never talked about taking any loan. She hated owing money. She used to say she didn't even like borrowing sugar from the neighbors. There was also a mailed confirmation notice in her messages, something she should have received by mail, but I knew for a fact she never saw it. I opened the digital copy. Someone had changed the mailing address for notifications. And it wasn't mine. And it definitely wasn't Grandma's. I sat at the kitchen table with the laptop in front of me. The room dim except for the lamp over the sink. It was evening, and the sun was dropping fast. I heard Grandma shifting in her chair in the other room, humming at the TV. The entire scene felt too normal for what I was looking at. When Lana showed up a little later, I tried to keep my voice steady. I told her I noticed a few withdrawals that didn't look right. She didn't panic. She didn't even blink. She just dropped her bag on the counter and said in this soft, practiced voice, "You're stressing over nothing, Maya. I handled it." Those words stuck in my head. The way she said them made my chest tighten. My breathing felt shallow. I remember rubbing my hands together because they were cold, even though the house was warm. I asked her again who took out the money. She smiled like I was being dramatic and said, "Please, don't start this." Then she picked up her bag and walked into the hallway like we weren't even having a real conversation. After she left, I copied the bank statements, the alerts, and the loan details. I printed everything and slid the papers into Grandma's old leather folder. It was the same folder she'd used for over 20 years to store important documents. I put the folder under my arm, walked outside, and put it in the trunk of my car. I didn't want Lana anywhere near it again. The next few days, Lana acted sweet. Too sweet. She kept saying things like, "You always assume the worst," or "Just relax, Maya, let me handle it," or "Grandma trusts me with this stuff." She said those lines so calmly that for a moment they almost sounded right. She even sat at the dining table and started organizing Grandma's papers. She mixed her own mail with Grandma's, like she was creating a pile that only she understood. She tucked envelopes into her purse, saying she'd sort them later. I caught myself rechecking the same dates on the ledger over and over again. I started wondering if I was being too strict or too suspicious. That was exactly what she wanted. Then Lana started showing up without calling first. She would walk straight into Grandma's house, using the spare key, and say she was cleaning up. But she wasn't cleaning. She opened drawers, shifted papers, moved folders, and acted like the house belonged to her. She kept saying she wanted Grandma to take it easy, but all she did was dig through things she never touched before. One afternoon, I heard Lana whispering to Grandma in the back bedroom. The door was partly closed. When I stepped closer, I heard Lana saying, "Just sign this. It's nothing big." Grandma sounded unsure, her voice small. I pushed the door open, but Lana quickly slid a paper into her bag and gave me a tight smile. I couldn't shake the feeling she was trying to move me aside. The pressure changed again when Lana realized I wasn't backing off. She cornered me in the kitchen one day and said, "If you keep interfering, Grandma will cut you out for good." She said it slowly, like she wanted each word to stick. Then she shoved a set of bank authorization forms into my hand and told me to sign them. I asked her why. She said, "To help her. You slow everything down." When I didn't sign right away, she rolled her eyes and muttered, "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I tried talking to Aunt Rachel about everything, but she didn't want to get involved. She said it sounded like a misunderstanding and that we should sort it out peacefully. By then, I felt completely alone. The night everything snapped, it was raining hard. I was at Grandma's house, sitting on the edge of her couch while she slept. The living room was dim with only the hallway light spilling in. The rain hit the windows like small taps, steady and sharp. I was exhausted. My head hurt from thinking too much. I started going through Grandma's desk drawers quietly, not to snoop, but to make sure I wasn't missing something. That's when I found a power of attorney form, folded in half, dated only 2 weeks earlier. The signature was shaky, not like Grandma's usual writing. It looked forced, uneven. I stared at it for a long time. My throat felt tight. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and took photos, making sure the date showed clearly. Every part of me felt hot and cold at the same time. It was the first time I knew for certain that Lana wasn't just careless, she was doing this on purpose. Then my phone buzzed. It was a voicemail from Grandma. She must have tried calling earlier. I put the phone to my ear. Her voice was soft and tired. She said, "Please stop arguing with Lana. She said you're upset again." That was all. Hearing that broke something in me. I realized Lana was speaking to her alone, shaping the story, making me look like the problem. I grabbed the power of attorney form, slid it into my leather folder and zipped it shut. I didn't even bother turning off the hallway light. I walked outside into the rain, put the folder in my trunk, and locked the car twice. I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. If you were sitting on evidence like this, would you confront your sister now or wait? Drop A for confront, B for wait. And hit like the next part is where everything shifts. After that night in the rain, I knew I couldn't keep guessing. I needed more than screenshots and shaky signatures. I needed hard proof from people who understood this better than I did. The next morning, I drove to the records office. I sat in my car with the heater on low, the windows fogging a little, and opened the leather folder on my lap. I went through every paper again, checking each date, each number, each scribbled signature. After I gathered myself, I walked inside and asked for copies of everything tied to Grandma's recent accounts. They printed forms I had never seen before, including a DMV address change request. The new address listed wasn't Grandma's. It wasn't mine. It was Lana's apartment. Seeing that made my stomach twist. This wasn't a mistake. This was planned. I took all the papers and drove straight to the bank. Martin, a compliance officer I had spoken to once before, was working that day. I explained the situation and laid the documents on his desk. He looked through each page slowly, frowning at the signatures. He tapped one of the forms with his pen. "These don't match your grandmother's usual writing," he said. "Not even close." He printed a full withdrawal timeline, with timestamps showing exactly when each ATM withdrawal happened. Every single one lined up with days Lana had been helping Grandma. I thanked him and walked out with the stack of papers pressed tight against my chest. Once I got to my car, I texted Aunt Rachel, "We need a family talk on Sunday. Bring everyone." She replied with a single word, "Okay." That night, I spread all the documents across my kitchen table. I sorted them by date. I placed each set into clear plastic sleeves. I made 2 copies of everything and locked the originals in my trunk. I already knew where the confrontation would take place. Aunt Rachel's dining room. Long table. Low-hanging light. No place for Lana to hide behind excuses. And for the first time in weeks, I felt steady. Sunday came fast. Aunt Rachel's dining room looked the same as always. Long wooden table. Soft yellow light hanging overhead. Dishes lined up neatly. Silverware placed in perfect rows. She always tried to make family meals feel calm, even when everyone was tense inside. The chairs scraped lightly as we all sat down. The smell of roast chicken filled the air. Lana walked in talking about some sale she found online, acting relaxed, like nothing in the last few weeks had happened. She smiled at Grandma, kissed her cheek, and then sat across from me. She didn't even look at the leather folder I set beside my plate, but I saw her eyes flick toward it once before she looked away. Grandma sat next to me. She held her napkin in both hands, folding and unfolding the corner. She kept glancing at my face like she could feel something coming even though I hadn't said a word yet. I waited until everyone took their seats, plates in front of them, and the small talk faded. My heart felt steady for the first time in a while. I had all the proof I needed, and this time, I wasn't going to back down. I pulled the leather folder closer and opened it slowly. The room went quiet. Lana froze, her fork hovering halfway to her mouth. I placed the first document on the table, the power of attorney form. "Grandma," I said gently, "did you sign this? On this date?" She leaned forward, squinting. "I don't remember signing anything like that." I turned to Lana. "Did she authorize this?" Lana rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, Maya, we talked about this. Grandma wanted me to help with the paperwork. You blow everything out of proportion." I didn't react. I just laid down the withdrawal printouts. "These are ATM withdrawals," I said, tapping the dates. "Grandma hasn't used an ATM in years." Lana's smile twitched. I took out cash for her, obviously. I kept going. "Here's the line of credit opened under Grandma's name. And here," I slid the next document forward, "is the mailing address it was tied to. Yours." Her face tightened. Her voice sharpened. "You don't know what you're talking about." Then I placed the final paper, the delivery receipt for the jewelry shipped to her apartment. The room shifted. Aunt Rachel leaned forward, her lips pressed together. My cousin Henry stood up slowly, staring at the papers like they were something burning. Grandma's face went stiff. Her jaw set in a way I hadn't seen since I was a kid. Lana's breathing changed. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "This is taken out of context." Right then, Martin stepped forward from the hall. I had asked him to come by after lunch. He placed his own copy of the signatures on the table. "These signatures don't match Evelyn's normal writing," he said clearly. "Not even close." Lana's hands shook. She pulled them into her lap, but everyone had already seen it. I didn't yell. I didn't need to. The papers did everything. Martin explained that the bank had already frozen the second account the moment he confirmed the signatures looked wrong. He also said the loan tied to the false address was now under review. A lawyer friend I'd contacted earlier stepped into the doorway next, ready to help Grandma challenge the power of attorney for fraud. Aunt Rachel wiped her eyes. "Lana, how could you do this?" Her voice shook. Henry didn't speak. He just stared at Lana like he didn't recognize her. Grandma touched the edge of the jewelry receipt with her fingertips. She didn't cry. She just looked tired. "You said you were helping me," she whispered. That broke whatever Lana had left. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She grabbed her purse, stood quickly, and walked toward the door without looking at any of us. I heard her breath hitch. Then she pushed the door open and left the house. No arguments, no explanations. Just silence and the sound of her car door slamming shut. From that moment on, the family agreed she wouldn't handle anything for Grandma ever again. After that Sunday, everything changed in small but important ways. Grandma's finances were moved into a trust, handled by someone outside the family, so nothing could be hidden again. I set up a clear system for her bills. Every week, I visit her, spread the papers out on her kitchen table, and go through each one with her. No secrets, no confusion. Just simple steps she can follow. The house feels calmer now. Mornings are quiet. You can hear the steady tick of the wall clock and the soft sound of sunlight warming the floor near the window. Grandma seems lighter too, now that she isn't being pulled in two directions. My relationship with Lana didn't survive any of this. But Grandma is safe, and that matters more than keeping fake peace. I used to avoid conflict because I thought silence kept families together. Now I know sometimes you have to step into the hard parts to protect the person who raised you. Where do you draw the line between keeping peace in your family and protecting someone who can't protect themselves? If something like this has ever happened around you, tell me in the comments. I read every story. And if you want more real family stories like this, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Next time, I'm sharing another situation where a family member used help as a cover for something much bigger.